on the butch, and you're like, okay, but my butch is different than yours.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. Yo, man. Boom, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. I'm your host, Rusty Diamond, and we're at episode number 611, and it is November 20th, 2024. And you can find out about me, rustydiamond.net, hypnosisisgreat.com, popuphealing.net, and a shit ton of other places that you can figure out. Watch the show on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can listen to this. So thank you everyone so much for being here and listening. And it's time for me to bring on my special guest right here and right now. And my special guest right here and right now is Madalaina D'Angelo. Okay, so that's an interesting way to start things, just with sounds. But we were talking about that before.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. Is that anything you'd ever heard, like something like that before?
Oh yeah, I've done like guided meditations or
Oh,
mindful,
okay.
like centered around that type of sound. So I love anything like aural in that regard, I find enjoyable. But I still think it like my mind latches onto it.
Yeah,
But it's different, like that type of sound is different than like traditional westernized 8 count music because my brain will start choreographing to that versus that type of sound. It does kind of put you in a more me in a more like mellow, less my brain is less chatty with that type of
yeah.
sound, which I enjoy. Yeah.
Okay. And so then you said it would make you choreograph. So what do you mean by that? Are you
I
setting
what
out?
like I just my I because my background is in dance and as a dancer and like when I hear music, I just start associating movement with it.
Okay. Has
Yeah.
there ever been something where it's very well-known dance, but the way you hear it and you want to put it together would be something entirely different? Or do you feel like you kind of go along the same lines as the people who are the choreographers now?
Oh God. I'm trying to think of like a specific piece. It I think it depends on like the music genre. Classical music for me, it's kind of standardized in what the count is. I think what starts becoming the choreographer's interpretation is a lot more like contemporary sounding music or music that doesn't have a traditional meter, where it's not, a 4/8 or a waltz or a, like when there is an ambiance to the sound almost, and then I find it harder as a dancer to capture more specifically what the choreographer wants because I do think everyone hears music differently. So when there is not that codified meter and it's like, just feel it on the butch, and you're like, okay, but my butch is different than yours.
Right.
Like, but versus, yeah, no, go ahead.
Then I was gonna say that's gonna probably be the title of this, you know. But
Perfect.
it's true.
Exactly.
It's a very, very good point.
Yeah.
And so so then what are you hearing? Like what kind of move? Is it what you would see yourself doing, or would it be what you would see someone else doing?
Um, ooh, often it's myself and just what I feel I want to move to the music with. But other times it does take shape as a more formal piece. And I'm like, okay, it would be this many people and have people doing this. Very often, I think I mean, every piece is the storytelling. Where am I going with this thought? I don't, it differs. Honestly, it differs. Like if you were to play the audio you started with, I think I would respond more with just myself and what I would improv um with individually. But if I hear music where I'm just like, dang, I want to choreograph a combo to that, then I do picture a room of like, 4 to 6 people doing it together and what that would look like. So I think it's different. Different pieces of music will stimulate that side of my brain in different ways.
Is it four different Maddies, or are you picturing people that you know, or is
I'm
it
kind of like, I've
oh,
never given it like faces of friends or other people I've danced with. It's just been like if I were in a class setting or I were teaching this in a rehearsal, what it would look like then.
okay? So then you teach as well. You choreograph and teach then.
Yes, in my early, especially coming right out of school, conservatory, I was teaching at a dance studio and teaching at the local, not local, but there's some children's theaters in Bethesda, Maryland that are really well known. So teaching for them. I teaching artists, I would not consider myself a teaching artist. I find teaching artists or artists who are able to do both really incredible individuals. I work best with kids or younger people who are in their teenage years. I struggle with the littles a lot more. I my really good friend works with young kids, and I'm always so impressed by the patience and the type of people who have the grace to bring such a nuance to that age group. I
So
prefer working with the older kids so I can run it like a professional rehearsal.
so then why isn't that the same level? Like isn't that's the same? They just do it with kids. They're better with kids,
It
and that's
is.
fine. And you're better with adults. It's cool. It's
Yeah,
two different ball games.
I taught fitness for a while too. I mean, yes, I guess there is a side of me that is a teacher. I just don't consider it my most forward full-time facet of self, I guess, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're
Yeah.
a woman of many hats. And
Yes, for sure.
you know,
But
like
it's funny when you say that though, because I forget that that is a side of myself. Like that is something I'm good at. I know people
yeah,
enjoyed my fitness classes. I know that I do like and choreographing is still teaching. Any type of, I guess, I dance captained a lot too, which is the same idea of you're teaching the ensemble, you're teaching the unders. Like, yeah, I guess that's so funny to think about how much teaching does come into play for what I do. Yeah.
as one of the things you do.
Yes. Many
That's
multi hyphenate is a good thing.
so what happens if you're I was talking to this guy, he's an actor, but he's a surfer too. And
Yes.
I was asking him like what happens when he wants to do one, but the other one is doing really well, or
Yeah.
something to that effect. What happens with that? Like, what if it's something you're working on, if it's one project, but then you have the want to do something else that's going creative in your head, but this other thing is doing really well right then? What kind of happens with you when that happens?
I try to remember to be creative every day, even if it's sewing or doing needlepoint or writing, even if that's a sentence. But it is hard when your passion also becomes a job because work is still work and there still does need to be boundaries around work and life. And work can be very consuming. And there are times I feel like I go down that rabbit hole a little bit of like a project is consuming me or just a job I'm working on is really, really tiring. And you come out of the rabbit hole a little bit when it's done or when it's about to end. And you're like, I have completely forgotten about my creative self. And I have a friend who loves to remind me, like, you're an artist first. So you can be an artist every day. It doesn't have to be tied into the job aspect of it. And that was such a nice reframe. And I do try every day, just like that little thing that is creative for the sake of being creative, that's not related to the job side of it.
Yeah.
And
It's,
conversely, work-life balance, like at 21, 22, I was putting everything else on the back burner to be available for acting jobs as they came up. Everything else. And I'm 29 now, and like if there's one perspective I have, it's that the work will always be there. You can audition from anywhere now. I mean, I didn't know that at 22 because pre-pandemic, but
yeah.
and you also be a human first because that is what informs you as the artist. You know, plan the vacation. If you need to cancel it, you can. Or conversely, go on the vacation and only cancel it if the job is really worth it because that it's that balance is important. And I've definitely given up a lot for the sake of the acting, where you then turn around and you're like, damn, I wish I had done the life thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. It can be kind of hard some of those times. And I feel it becomes easier looking back. But
yeah,
in that moment, it's just the easy, hindsight 2020 kind of a thing. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where it's just fuck, like I'm on a roll. Writing a whole bunch of songs. Like this is all going really well,
yeah,
but what is that doing for me? Like I'm not doing anything else. I'm focusing like my whole energy and life
yeah,
into this right here, but it has no meaning other than me getting it out into something into the world somehow.
yeah. There's an element of, I call it the millennial ennui, but like the fruitlessness a little bit of like, okay, well, if the planet's burning and World War III is impending, and like, what's the point?
Yeah,
Um, but that's when you have to check yourself, and there is always the point. And again, take away the work from it. I do try to separate the like career success that society defines it as, and it's just simply like, are you feeling creative? Are you doing the thing you love to do? Because the
yeah,
reason you're doing it, pursuing it, and building everything else in your life to support it is because you love it.
yeah.
So,
And that can be a hard one too in the moment to just be able to
oh
think,
yeah,
oh yeah, this is something that like I should be
yeah,
doing because I need to be creative. And if I'm not
yeah,
creative, what's what am I missing out on?
yeah,
And two, where's that energy go and what's it being maybe not wasted, but at least redistributed in a way that you weren't originally intending it to be
yeah,
going to something
yeah,
else. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I mean, this is good, but yeah, it's gonna set me back. I only have three tracks done right now.
yeah.
I have to get back to this. I know what they are. And so when you get into that, I mean, do you take notes on stuff that you're gonna come back to, or is it if you don't do it
Oh
then it's
God.
gone?
No, it's not gone. I just have a lot that lives up here that I constantly am like, you have to put it down somewhere, something, somehow, even if it's rough, even if it's an outlet. Like, I probably have, I have like a short film and a short play that have been percolating in my head for like 4 to 6 months. And I keep being like, I am gonna write it. And I'm like, just do it. Just get it out. So even if it's like a sentence or two a day, that's where I say I like kick my own butt. And I'm like, just get it out of your head. It's less of that I'm worried I'm gonna lose it, but more of just the discipline of like, just do it. Just write it down and stop, and that's very ADHD to put things off. And then when you finally do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't so hard. Which feels like the story of my creative
Yeah.
career sometimes. But,
Right.
it's, yeah, no, but easily I'm like, and then there's, and this thing that I think is funny, what can I use this for? Would it work in a play? Is this actually like, does someone need to do a stand up with it? Like, yeah, it's,
Yeah. Well, and so then you're writing a play and a uh what was you said a play, 10-minute play
I
and
have, yeah, I have an idea, definitely a short that I need to get written because it's something that happened to me in the spring and it was just so funny. And I literally like, it was really bad because as it was happening, part of my brain was like, shit, this would make a really funny short. And I hate that sometimes, like literally when I'm living the experience, I'm like, damn, this is really good to revisit later. But that's how it felt because it was just so heightened and extreme and surreally funny that I was like, of course I'm gonna use this. And then the other
yeah.
thing is I don't know what I want to turn it into yet. So that it has to grow. I'm like, I know I have an idea here. I just don't know. I need to stop worrying about the medium and I need to just start writing a thing and let it speak to me as to where it would best be performed. But I'm very big right now and being like, this piece of art is meant for film. This piece of art is meant for stage. This piece of art is better as a TV show. Like it just using your medium appropriately, completely different rant about movie IPs going on stage that have no need to be there. But yeah, so it's just taking the plunge of just get the idea going and whenever it turns into something. Yeah.
So then are you going and outlining it or are you writing it just all in one sequence and eventually it gets to the end? Or do you know what the end is already and then you're working through bit by bit?
Certain things I know the beats of, and other things I know usually the dialogue of or the situation of, and I don't always know where it's going to conclude. Um, but I know that I have a scene or two scenes or the start of something, and I want to use it and see what it's going to turn into. So I have to get out of my own head sometimes of like having all the beats planned because then it's just another excuse of why I won't do like write it where I'm like, well, I don't know where it's going. So I need to figure that out. And it's like, no, you have two scenes. So just keep writing scenes with these characters, even if you don't use them, just to get
Yeah.
something going. Yeah.
Where are you with AI? What's your AI take?
I artistically it terrifies me and it pisses me off. I see its use in other facets of the world and in other industries. It also concerns me its environmental impact, though, as we're learning more and more about how much water it takes to fuel these computers that are coming up with this, ideas and copy. I see its usefulness. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I work in another industry and sector where I know it's used and it's very helpful for small business owners and I see its usefulness, but in the arts it terrifies me. Uh and living in America terrifies me because we have a society that's very quick to replace jobs with robots and AI, and I'm not
Yeah.
not convinced that it won't rule us out as artists. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, with what we've done so far, like we could take this AI and
yeah,
have a podcast that goes on for forever
yeah,
talking about all kinds of shit that
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a gut check that, that there's a lot of creative things that you and I both do. And it's just like, yeah, it can do all these. I feel
And
it's a good
it's
go ahead.
it's crazy because it's not even creative side. Like I run a small business and that could completely be replaced by some AI software robot thing.
Right. And
And that's crazy. But what I mean, the flip side is people know when they're talking to AI now, which I do think is funny, especially in a text message or any type of digital communication. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, there's certain phrases.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd always get it with the like when I'm doing the episode description and stuff, it
yeah,
would keep coming up with the same thing, or I'd have it, write me a Facebook post, and it's like says the same
right,
thing over each
right,
time, and I'm like, just say something different. I changed to get into my voice, but yeah, I mean, like everything is just can
yeah.
be just moved over, but I feel it gives us more time to get people who have ideas but are not don't know how to execute them, such as me and drawing. Like I can draw worth shit, but I'm an idea guy and I can come
Yeah.
up with something that I would never be able to describe to or be able to paint and then move on to something else. And then with writing books, I've gotten into a few big discussions and not quite arguments, but like with writing too, like uh I don't know, I feel that it can help with a lot of getting those ideas and then, giving it certain points like, oh, it needs to hit this beat here, like what would be a good way to get to it. And then if it already knows your voice and tone and how you talk and how
That's
you think, and I don't know, it's hard. It's
yeah.
really hard.
It's so tricky because conversely, I'd be like, that's an editor's job. Like,
Right. Yep.
and but that's a twofold comment because while I say that's an editor's job for someone who is writing the first draft of um a book and doesn't know how to hit those like it's hard because where's the line between this is a really good resource. I mean, it's like anything else in this world. It's a really good resource and a really good thing until it gets abused and it's not.
When does it get abused and then it's not? What's the
I
spot?
mean, there, for instance, there was a show in the area where I live, and they added, it was a Shakespeare play. They added to the script, which is totally fine. I don't mind or care. Shakespeare's also in the public domain. You're not stealing money from anyone.
Right.
But instead of employing someone, and mind you, we live in an area where there are also the internet's right here. So you can find someone, a poet, a Shakespeare scholar, a playwright who can write in iambic pentameter to give you the two extra things that you need. And instead they used AI. That really pissed me off. That really pissed me off. And it's because it would have been one thing to be like, if you don't understand iambic pentameter and you want a quick, easy example, I mean, there are other ways you can educate yourself about it, but that bothered me when I'm like, there, that in a professional setting like that, it's not someone at home, it's not an amateur, it's not someone starting, like, that really bothered me. That what
Yeah.
should have been a paid job done by a human being, you ran through an AI software.
Right. And
Yeah.
I could see that one happening a lot, especially, I mean, yeah, and there's a lot of unions. There's unions for a reason. And
And it's a fine line too, because like James Earl Jones, before he passed, granted Disney Star Wars licensing to use his voice for anything future Darth Vader.
yeah, which
But
is
that's
crazy
so specifically protected because if not, I mean, the Beatles are nominated for a Grammy this year.
for a new song.
Right. And it just like and I know some of them are still alive. That's not what it, but it just, we could have James, they that could have gotten abused had the protections not been in place around that. And that is the worry with actors and voiceover artists, but now even digital artists and designers and textile, like it's there is no line. It is a very gray area, the conversations around AI. It's hard to toe one party line, I think.
especially with copyright and stuff of that nature. I mean, that's always something that every year I'm looking to see what goes into public domain and
Yeah.
what's gonna pop up on there. And
Yeah.
um like I saw the up in Reading, there's a hockey team up there, like a minor
Hmm.
league hockey team, and
Yes.
they're doing a Steamboat Willie night, which was the old Mickey Mouse, and so
Yep.
they have these black and white jerseys with Steamboat Willie on the front, and they can do that
Yep.
now.
They can.
Like it's wild, like that. Yeah, there's so much stuff with that, and so many things to play around with, and then people making the uh Winnie the Pooh killer movies that
Oh
they
my
did
God,
last
which
year.
was so scary. I genuinely found it so scary.
Did you
Just
watch them?
because, no, I don't do
Oh,
horror
okay.
movies. But
Me
for me,
neither.
that's such a character who like has a specific association that to see it done that way, that's just
Right.
more me being like, it's Pooh Bear, what are you doing?
Right. And I mean, yeah, now people can do that. They can do whatever with it. And it's
You know
I
what
don't know.
though? Can I say for at least when things enter the public domain, like whether or not I like the art, you've made art out of it. You had an original, like, yeah, Killer Psycho Pooh Bear is not something I would have run
Right.
with. It at
I think a
least it
lot of
was
people would.
no, but at least it was something new. At least, and look, I'm the first person to like love revisiting an old piece of art that I adored when
Yeah.
it's done well and appropriately. But the regurgitation and the fact that producers and studios and producers on all fronts, music, stage, screen, TV, felt like across a multitude of things in this industry right now, producers are so afraid to put money behind anything new
Right.
that, yeah, okay, Psycho Killer Pooh Bears, and it sounds nutty, but it's something.
Yeah. I mean it
You
is.
know,
It's but yeah, it's a weird take. And
yeah.
so have you gotten to use anything from public domain? Like I do it with my commercials. I like using public domain stuff
Oh,
for
when I needed
songs.
to, yeah, and for it's a good tool. You said commercial, which is what made me think of it. When I needed to update my commercial reel, like both for voiceover and just acting, to use like things that were in the public IP, like short little copy and things like that. But I live in the public domain in the sense of I do a lot of classical work and I'm a strong proponent of classics and revisiting classics as a contemporary voice. And so much of what I play with is public domain. So I think it allows it to be really interesting.
So so like what are you talking more music or are you talking uh other kinds of works?
Plays specifically.
Plays.
Plays
Okay.
specifically. Yeah.
So I mean, how far have you deviated from a play that you've uh been a part of? How far have you like how close have you
Um,
gotten to Psycho Killer Pooh Bear?
it wasn't Psycho Killer Pooh Bear, but I have my master's in fine arts, and to part of our grad requirements were, to do a thesis of some sort. And I rewrote a scene from A Midsummer Night's Dream, centering the play around Helena, one of the characters in the play, as a queer woman, and then
Oh,
changing the gender of one of the other lovers. So it ended up being three femmes and one guy, and Helena's bi and, in love with it. So that, like, I mean, heavily deviation, certainly inspired by an adaptation of, but
yeah. So
yeah.
does your mind go that way sometimes with wanting to get to I mean, is it mainly go to this would be a good play, or this would be a good movie, or this would be a good song, or this would be a good thing to write down? Where's your head usually go first?
Uh, I mean, lately, and it's just because I've seen a lot on stage where I'm like, why the hell is this on stage? But I've also seen movies where I feel like the storytelling could be so much richer. Why was this not a mini series? I've also seen mini series where I've been like, this should have been a movie. So it, I think my mind will wa watch, listen to, or absorb art. I mean, even music, because you asked about music, I'll listen to an album and be like, this would work incredibly well adapted to a stage show
Like,
because the storytelling is so rich. I mean, I know it's so stereotypical, but the fact that there's not a Taylor Swift jukebox musical is insane because of just her music inherently feels so musically theatrical because of the
yeah,
richness of the storytelling. It makes you want to think about a character, like what character is singing this and going through this, and how can I interconnect this? So, and my background's in theater, but I will listen to music and listen to albums. And I'm a purist. I listen to an album from start to finish the first time because the artist arranged these songs in a certain way, and I want to listen to um what their intended through line was with that project. But yeah, I think it definitely goes, or I'll hear something and be like, oh God, I hope they use it on that TV show. Or a piece of music will pop up on a TV show, and I will be like, their music programmer is on it. So, like,
yeah,
yeah, I will hear, read, or see something and associate it and try to think of where it will work really well with something else. But I just think it's because there's a lot of really cool art being made across so many mediums. It's like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. And whether, yeah, it's a new if it's a song going into something, if it's a
yeah,
new song or if it's a really old song that comes back that all of a sudden gets a, resurgence with a whole new fan base, it's
yeah,
kind of a cool thing. And like,
yeah,
well, yeah, or they happen with video games too. It seemed
yeah, yeah,
like there seemed to be some stuff like with I don't know, like video games that came out in the last like 10, 15 years, just like how do these young kids know this song? And it's like, oh yeah, it was on
yeah,
so and so. Oh, okay, well,
yeah.
yeah, that's and it's cool. And it's good to, get some of those older artists getting some royalties for shit they did decades ago. Like it's
Exactly.
it's cool. Like, and I don't know, like talking about there's a show Cobra Kai that's
Mhm.
okay. So
Yep.
like the whole thing is the show is very successful now, but pretty much everybody that was in the cast of the whole like universe of it
Yeah.
has open time right now, or a lot of like they're available to do the work, and like they might
Yeah.
not be getting work elsewhere as often, but then they're getting to come back and have these like they need this guy, and it's like holy shit,
Green.
that's the original. Like,
Here I
yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, look, actors have to pay their bills at the end of the day too, and I think when
right,
there's a beloved character that you get to revisit, i I can actually think of the people who've said no because everybody else says yes, but it's
yeah,
also because they loved the project, they loved the like, no one's, I mean, everyone has bills to pay, but no one's going to go back into something they hated just to do it. I mean, people
right,
do, I'm not saying they don't, but Cobra Kai, like,
yeah,
that is so beloved by both the fan base and the actors. How could you not? I mean, if Harrison Ford can go back and play Han Solo, that
right,
curmudgeon, like, and I
yeah,
say that because I adore Star Wars and him. I mean, Carrie Fisher used to always talk about, like, oh, excuse me. Once she realized that going to conventions to, do Star Wars stuff was not only like a nice paycheck, but she was like, So I get to go and meet the people who've been so deeply impacted by this role and this thing that we made.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's the
ask.
dream.
What I was gonna ask you. Like, have you ever been to a convention before with that?
Yes.
What'd
Yeah.
you go to? What kind of convention was it?
I go to a lot of Disney conventions and Star Wars conventions. I do cosplay.
Holy shit! What do you
Yeah.
cosplay as?
As Natalie Portman's character from the Star Wars prequels as Padme. Um,
Okay,
but
yeah,
yeah,
I could see
no,
that.
yes. I
Yeah,
love that could be a whole other episode about that and why I love Star Wars and that character and Leia and that whole world. But no, I've gone and I actually got to meet Hayden Christensen. My friends like got me a photo op with him for my birthday. And
oh,
he and Ewan McGregor just started doing them conventions, and Ewan
yeah,
McGregor had been so resistant to doing it for so long. And now that man goes to everything because
yeah,
I do think there has to be a joy to it. Like we talk about a
yeah.
hard day's work, right? Like
Right. Yeah,
so,
and
and
you,
for
yeah. Go
go
ahead.
ahead, please. No,
I was
please
gonna
go.
say, and you get to see all your old friends that like
Well,
you did this
exactly.
shit with.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's pretty cool. And like, someone's
yeah,
paying you basically to have a reunion with all these people. Someone's like
yeah,
flying, like, hey, you go out and do this. Like, you go out and show up here, like
yeah.
all your friends from this movie that you haven't seen for 30, 40 years, and you're gonna have this
Sure.
crazy fan base that still talks about this movie. They're
Yeah,
like fucking so into it, and it's the
yeah.
coolest shit. Like I don't know, like there was what's his name? The guy from Star Trek, William Shatner. William Shatner, I think,
Yeah,
was famous for not liking going to these things and not
yeah,
appreciating it. But I mean, there's there's so much just I mean, even just you got one fan coming up to you that's like, hell yeah, like that's got to be the
yeah.
coolest shit. Like, I remember
It's
you like from this.
it's my dream as an actor. I mean, to have that one role in a project that lets you go to these conventions and have I don't like I've never sought out like extreme fame and it's not that, but to have that one project where like people know you, you know you've reached a larger audience, and then financially it allows me to do theater for the rest of my life. That's
Yeah,
that's the dream. Like very truly. I would love to be in that fantasy sci-fi movie, TV show, um, and let myself go to cons and because I'm also a fan. And I love when actors who are also fan people are cast in those types of projects because I just think there's like an added layer of joy and respect and the want to be part of the community because you kind of already are. Like I really
yeah,
don't like when you hear actors who show up and they're like, "Yeah, I have no idea what this is about. I just booked this job and like the paycheck was nice, so here I am." And I'm like,
yeah,
because you don't realize how much it means to someone. And at the end, not that everything you create has to go out into the world. You can create for yourself, of course. But there is an element to creating art where it is about entertaining someone or impacting someone, or even if it's just I want to share an aspect of my story, I hope that it connects with someone else in a way that brings them joy, makes them feel heard, makes them feel seen. I mean, it's yeah, it's put your art out there because you don't know who it's going to resonate with. And I think there's a lot of joy in finding a community around loving the same thing. Even if
yeah,
it's, there's an Irish author, Sally Rooney, who like literally writes about depressed millennials in Ireland. And I've I've met friends and other bookworms who like joy maybe is not the right word, but to have read something where it feels like it's speaking to a part of your experience.
yeah.
It's not
And
bringing me the same joy as Mamma Mia is, but it's, so I
but
love
yeah,
Mamma Mia. I will die on that hill.
what is it about Mamma Mia that you love?
Because it's joy. It's sheer camp. It's fun. The characters do go through an arc and it's just joyous,
What
both
if
on
you
stage and on screen.
what if you wrote a either, a play or a musical that's very uh what was the word you said? You said happy and about Mamma Mia. What'd you say? Is
Oh,
pure
joyous.
pure joy. So
Yeah.
you make a pure joyous uh adaptation of whatever it may be of someone that is at like someone that has to go to a con and they're fighting it and fighting it and fighting it that no, I'm still so relevant and like this is such so like
I'm
demeaning to go here and then get them to go there and they just
not.
fucking love it and just embrace it and I mean that's it was such
I'm not gonna call Ewan McGregor out like that. That would be so sad. I love him too much.
yeah, this is based on Ewan McGregor and
There you go.
yeah and
Um,
I'm it's I don't know, it's a cool thing and uh I don't know, like even the ones where like there was a I don't know, I see it in wrestling. There's a lot of ones that happen in New Jersey where their old wrestlers show up and they do a convention of sorts like that.
yeah,
And yeah, there'd be like this one guy that would, they'd have the picture of him at the empty table with nobody coming up to see him. And it was, even then it would still be cool. Like if no one comes up and sees you, but like you're still going to go and see everybody else, you're going to get to be at that thing.
yeah,
They're bringing you in. Someone at least wants to bring you in for it. And I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
I think it could be a cool thing. And like you're saying, you never know what's really going to take off. And like if you're not
no,
having putting your heart into it and you just, you know, uh, I don't know, like so yeah, all of a sudden the show's really successful, and then they go back, and you have people that are meticulously watching this show, and they're like, "Who's this asshole right here? He looks like he doesn't care at all about being here. Like,
yeah.
who's this guy?" And Google him, and then,
That
uh,
the internet can be a very cruel place, and I hate that side of it. And I hate the like dismantling of if you loved it and it brought you joy and it's not harmful in any way, like
yeah,
we like.
yeah,
It might
it's
not
for
be
the
my taste, but a lot of what I like is not other people's taste. So it's okay.
right, and that's what everything's about. Like,
Mhm.
it's fine. You do you, you do I, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, and it's hard now because like you say you do you. I don't really care, but now, uh, but you should, care at least for everyone's well-being. But it's
Well,
like
that's what I say.
hard to say I
As
don't
long
care, but that
as long
sucks.
as it's not bringing active harm to anyone,
Hmm.
and that can take on whatever it needs to take on, but as long as it's not actively harming anyone, just because it's not art, like I have friends who love rewatching, true crime shows, or they love watching the newest Menendez, all of that. That's not my cup of tea, but my God, you're putting out a vampire show, a fantasy series, supernatural. I'm in it. And I have friends who are like, that sounds awful. No, what do you mean I need to learn the rules of a world in order to watch a show or read a book? Absolutely not. So that,
Yeah,
but
and
that's also
it's
the
great.
beauty of all the
Sorry.
art out there. It's the same. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with music, right? My degree is in music, just concentrated in musical theater, but I have the deepest respect for all kinds of music, even if it's not what's on my rotation every day, because I know there's music I listen to that I even have close friends who are like, I literally hate your music choices.
Yep. And
That's okay.
yeah, I'm
Like,
listening to it. I feel good.
yeah. But there are also artists in other genres. Just because I'm not listening to it every day doesn't mean I'm going to let someone sit there and trash them for being a bad artist. No, they're
Right.
actually an incredibly talented artist. You just don't vibe with their style. That doesn't mean you get to say it's not good music.
Yep. And they're keeping it real for them. And that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like I know there's not tons of people who like what I do, but the people that do, they're in.
Yep.
They're fucking right
Yeah.
there. They're fucking seeing this.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
none of us have to really sugarcoat stuff to, have that authenticity of making whatever it is, whatever kind of art we
Yeah.
do.
Because
And
it finds its audience and it
yeah,
finds, the people it who like it, who feel impacted by it, and who want to keep on seeing more from the
yeah.
artist in question. So
So I have one last question. So, have you
yeah.
ever been on a set where someone has posted something online from it, from what was going on? Like gone and, taken pictures of something and posted it online or
Oh
anything like
yeah.
that?
I've been in shows where that's happened too. They've posted from backstage or they've posted themselves on set in costume. Um, and it's so tricky, but at the end of the day, it's like unless there is something contractually that says they can't do it,
Yep.
I personally would not do it until the project is released, or what I am posting about what I'm doing would I
Yeah.
that's it's hard when it's like my personal morals or ethics versus, what contractually you're required to do. But I like
Yeah.
to respect social media is really hard. It's really tricky in this day and age. And I like to be respectful of what I'm working on. Um, And also, yeah, I am the person to ask too and be like, is this okay to post? What are the guidelines about posting? What should we be following? But not everyone else does that.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's tricky. And
Well,
that's when, okay, you're that person today. Go for it. It's not gonna
yeah.
be me.
Yeah. Dude, is it you just get a lot of memories from last week or
I take pictures. Oh no,
well,
I will take
cool.
pictures.
What
And you'll
like
see
you don't have to tell me
um
what, but
a lot of
what
like
what
nice.
happens in this episode? Exactly.
Um, I'm not
Uh,
revealing until it airs, but like
yeah.
you see a lot of celebrities who will post a whole slew of pictures they took from a project they filmed a year and a half ago, and they
Yeah.
couldn't share any of their personal memories until the thing aired. I mean, I got, pictures of myself, of my costumes, some with the people I met. One I was able to get like of me on the monitor on one of the AV cell phones. But like again, it was all I'm taking these for personal posterity more than anything. Like they
Yeah.
might not end up on social media when this episode airs. But
Yeah.
I do like collecting the memories. I am just going to be respectful of when it's appropriate to take a picture. What are you taking a picture of? I will never take a picture of another human being without their consent. I think I took a picture of like the really cool set piece that was there, like
Okay. Yeah.
that kind of stuff, but I will never take a picture of another human being unless asked. Like I got pictures with some of the other girls I met in our costumes and everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll grab like I think I took a picture of like the logo of the
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 event,
thing. Yeah.
the thing, like little, but again, most of that was for posterity. And I'm not also the person to whip out my phone all the time on set. It's why I have a Kindle.
That's yeah,
It
just reading.
like, yeah, one in doubt. And the only question I got asked was someone came over and was like, "That's not a personal prop. We're not paying you for it, right?" And I was like, "Nope, it goes away once we're reset and rolling again." And they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's fine. Carry on." Like the only
Yeah.
question was, "We're not paying you."
Yeah. Well, because then they know you're
um,
going to be quiet. They
well,
know you're going to be
exactly.
quiet during that part.
I during rehearsals for a play, sometimes you won't be needed, but you still need to be in the area. You're in the green room, you're hanging out, whatever. And I'm the
Yeah.
person who's either like catching up on other work on her laptop or I'm reading a book. Like I'm not, and then I feel bad because I don't want people to think I'm not being social. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
we have to be quiet right now because there
Right.
is an element of respect that I want to be given. So I'm going to give it to everyone else.
That's important. And
Yeah.
yeah. So, how can people find you, Maddie? How can people find you in the world? How can they talk to you,
I
work
have
with you?
I have my professional website. Please feel free to check out my materials and what I do there. And then my social media, so Instagram and Facebook. Um, I will update. And yeah, I'm very excited for the next few months and to see what is up next in life and in career. And I mean, last week was a really unexpected little job, and I got to meet some really cool people on it. So more and more and more of those, please, universe.
Yeah, right. And yeah, that was
Oh,
it came at the right time. It came at a time when
yeah.
it was just
Yes.
okay, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
needed that.
My
I
friend called it a little pat on the back. She was like, that was the universe just being like, hey, just want to check in. You're being really patient and you're on a good life path lately. So, like, here's a little.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah.
exactly how it felt. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're wearing something different. It's like I know you as what you're wearing in
From
those
the, I
clothes,
know,
and
it's
it's
so
it's
funny.
it's different. I'm like,
I it's
yeah,
actually funny I have this on today. I'm flying out to London tonight. I did not put this on purpose. It just was at the top of my cozy clothes pile.
do you wear sweatpants and sweatshirts on the plane, or what do you wear on the plane? Or do you wear
Usually
like a
like
suit?
no leggings, and I think I have like leggings and a big comfy sweater and
Cool.
gonna
Well,
conk out. So thank you so
yeah,
much for
yeah.
having me. This was
Thank you. And
awesome.
enjoy London, and we'll get you back
Thank
on here, and I
you.
want to talk to you some
Love
more,
that.
and we'll
Hell
do that.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good people.
Yeah, what was your website?
It's just my full name, Madalaina-D'Angelo at .com. I'll put it in the chat right now for you too.
Cool. Yeah, I'll throw that up on there so people can find that. And so yeah, yeah, fucking go to the
Oh.
airport and go fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and
Gonna
we'll
go do a thing. Off
yeah,
to off to
cool.
London. It was
Yeah.
so good to chat. I will
You
see you
too,
soon.
Maddie. All right.
You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
Madalaina D'Angelo. So hit her up, find her, work with her. My voice is going. Let me cough into this. Okay, so I cleared my throat. So yay. So check her out. Check me out, rustydiamond.net, hypnosisisgreat.com, popuphealing.net. And if you want to go for a float and you live in the Philadelphia area, you can go to Westchester or Princeton, New Jersey. And you can go to East Coast Float Spa. Tell them you want the Rusty Diamond treatment. You get a hypnosis session while you're floating, but go float in darkness and silence first if you're going to do that, because it's fucking awesome. And I don't want my voice on there the first time you try it out. I mean, if it's the second time, for sure, try it. But if it's not, that's what I would suggest. So thank you everybody so much for being here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Check the show out on Rumble or YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.